As a professional services firm, our passion is to help our clients realize their dreams and to empower our team to deliver on the goals of our clients. We do this by bringing together talents who can freely express themselves.
One of the most fascinating aspects of my work experience here at AideOne has been the freedom to express my creative abilities. Even though I only started in 10 years, the firm encourages me to bring my creative ideas to the table and actively participate in decisions that help better our clients' experience. This has not only made me more confident in my abilities, but has also instilled a sense of pride in me, knowing that my decisions help contribute to the firm's overall success.
We attract talent who are willing to learn, grow, and succeed. We place great emphasis on training and providing all the support they need to succeed in their engagements. This commitment to equipping our team is a catalyst in achieving our sole aim of helping our clients.
One of the best practices at AideOne is our tradition in doing technical sessions. These sections provide us with opportunity to learn, upskill, and sharpen our knowledge continuously. It also provides us with opportunity to develop our presentation skills. We stay updated with industry trends and technologies, which ultimately makes us quality professionals.
Our culture is hard work and competitiveness, but encourages teamwork among our people.
I resumed AideOne 3 weeks later than expected, and when I resumed, the energy and focus was just so real. I knew I needed to do more, and my colleagues gave me great support. The competition to be a grounded consultant and advisor is real, but very healthy.
Our approach to every client is personal. We listen to their pains and plans and chart a client-specific approach that would bring joy and fulfillment to their plans. We value building financial structures for our clients, above all, laying a foundation that will stand the test of time, and every level and class of staff comes together to support this objective.
Another remarkable aspect is the culture that prevails at AideOne. We acknowledge every member of the team, irrespective of their role, as an integral contributor to our collective success. This culture of respect makes everybody feel comfortable and foster commitment to AideOne dream.
Our joy comes from when our clients say thank you, and most joyful when our people feel fulfilled.
My time at AideOne has offered me a plethora of opportunities, including but not limited to growth, creativity, and collaboration. I'm proud to be a part of a team that not only values its employees, but empowers them to be the best in their respective roles.
Clients once asked, what is the dream of your firm? We affirmed that we do not have any particular dream than to fulfill theirs. That's what we do at AideOne, fulfilling your dreams.
I am enjoying my stay at AideOne. Thank you for letting me share my experiences here at AideOne.
As a professional services firm, our passion is to help our
Can everybody hear me? Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me?
Hi, Rogba. If you can talk, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, apologies for the delay. Been having a little bit of internet drama this morning.
That's okay.
Fine now, yes?
Yeah, it's fine and clear.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I think we can kick off, or do you want to wait a bit for people to join? How many people do we have on at the moment? Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the AideOne Media and Entertainment Industry webinar. My name is Rogba Arimoro. I'm the founder and executive producer of Paladin Creatives. It's a production company here in Lagos, Nigeria, that does a lot of work in the creative space. Over the past few months, Nigeria's tax framework has evolved in many ways that directly affect us creatives, affects freelancers and media businesses. So for many in the industry, I'm sure the conversations around tax right now can feel a bit confusing. So today I'll be moderating a session presented by AideOne, which is titled Big Wins for Creators and Helping Your Creative Business Navigate Nigeria's New Tax Law. So I hope everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, then please just put like a thumbs up.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, fantastic.
Clearly, perfect.
All right, great. All right, fantastic. So the truth of it is, many of us creators, we operate in good faith, but unfortunately, or a lot of the structures that were built around tax economics and all that were really built for a different type of regulatory era. They were not really built for what we have currently. And the law has actually moved on. And as part of today's conversation, we want to help creatives catch up in a way that makes them confident and in a way that makes them safe. Now, the goal of today's session is to change the framing that we currently have. And this is not just about compliance or avoiding problems. It's also about understanding where the new tax law introduces clarity, where it introduces structure, and where it gives us creatives real accommodations that we can take advantage of once we know how. Now, this session is designed to be practical. It's supposed to teach us, or it will focus really on creative work, how we earn, how we create contracts, how we spend, how we grow, and how we're able to scale our businesses, and how the new tax framework is going to interface with those realities that we actually have. So we're going to begin with presentations from our facilitators, and then we'll follow that by expert commentary and a brief summary, and then we'll have an interactive Q&A session with people so that they can ask the questions, the burning questions that they have. So please, I encourage you, once we get to that point, drop your questions in the chat as we go along, especially those questions that are tied to your real world experience. Before we start, I'd like to just give a brief background on AideOne. AideOne is it's a financial consulting firm who have actually been very active in the creative sector. I can speak from personal experience because they've done a lot of work with Paladin Creative, and they've actually helped me really navigate taxes, economics, government regulations over the past, at least at the very minimum, 5 years. And I've actually seen my business thrive. And they've helped me put things in order and create structures that enable my business to become investable. And this is why I believe that they're the best people to lead this charge. So to begin, I'd like to invite our lead facilitator, Emmnauel. Emmnauel works closely with a lot of media and entertainment businesses on structure, on compliance, and strategic growth. Emmnauel is going to walk us through the core presentation on how the new tax law applies to creatives in practice. So please take your pens out, bring out your notebooks, and let's dive in. Emmnauel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rogba. I'm very grateful to be part of this, and webinar and to be the facilitator of this webinar. I welcome everyone who is on the call that is here to hear us on what we can give out there in order to guide you based on your structure, your compliance, and also how to navigate your business and scale your business. So, as we all know, a lot of us are aware of the new tax law, which is now almost everywhere in the industry worldwide. And it has been something that almost everybody is, some people are even scared of it. Like, how is it really impacting my business? What would I do? And there are a lot of things out there. Everybody's more like wants to be a tax consultant now, just want to put out content there for us to consume. And some of the content, they don't even understand what the whole deep of the tax law is. They just feel like, okay, this is what somebody is saying. They just move it and the information is just going everywhere. So I think before we need to move forward, then we look at what were the things that was even there before the new tax law. What are the things that was there? So what are the things in each of us, like the freelancers, the content creators, even the creative business, there were a lot of things that was needed of us. Before the new tax law, the freelancers, registered business, sole proprietors, the individual creators has to file the accounts. But since it was not really being enforced, not like the law was not there, it was already there, but it wasn't being enforced. You were mandated to pay your tax, you maintain and have a TIN number. You also hold a state tax ID for your individual. And then for registered company, what was required of you in the old tax law? You needed to charge and remit VAT monthly on vatable service. You needed to deduct and remit withholding tax. You pay payee for your staffs, and then you pay other statutory taxes that was required of you.
Yeah.
Then for sole proprietorship, you needed to maintain a proper book of record. You declare your business profits and as your personal income, which is your business, because it is a business name, your business and you are almost the same thing. So you also comply with the VAT if your business was up to 25 million as at that time. And then you pay withholding tax and pay. CIT was actually excluded for sole proprietorship because they were also in more like they classified them as part of an individual earning. So there was no need to charge them CIT. So these obligations were actually are not new. It was what that was there before now, which was needed of each and every one of us, people, the freelancers, people that are like the content creators, writers, and producers, and then the business owners, like the registered name, like a limited liability company, and then the sole proprietorship. So what has really changed now on the new tax law? So the new tax law, the core thing that really changed is more like the core tax processes remain large or change. Actually, there's nothing much really changing. It's just due, I think, few things that were not really there that is just being introduced or something in order to make life much more easier that is being done. So individuals earning up to 20 million and below may pay less tax than what he paid before based on the new range and the incentive that is available. So what the new tax law also needs is a stronger coordination between the tax authorities, bank, and government agencies, because I think this one is where a lot of people misinterpret it, that they said government will now be deducting money from your bank account. Obviously not. Government is not going to deduct money from your account. What they are just doing is that they are having due intelligence in order to see, okay, who are those people that are earning, like they have a lot of amounts of money, like they said, 25 million in your account as an individual. Okay, what has been your transactions? Just the data, that's what they are looking at. It's not that like they can deduct the money, except when you have kind of a tax liability and you refuse to pay, maybe probably they can get a court order or injunction in order to enforce the law. But to deduct money on just a normal basis is not like that. There's another one that is being I just heard recently, like they said, VAT is going to be charged on every transaction. Obviously, the VAT was there on all of your transactions. All those bank charges, a lot of banks do not even separate the VAT part of it. They add it to the bank charges. If you check your account, if you make some transaction around 50,000, you will see 53.7 something as the charges. The VAT is being added to that, and sometimes I have 26. I have dealt with a lot of accounts. Even there are some months that I have to see a bank charges running up to hundreds of thousands because banks take their accounts, and also government have VAT out of it. So it is not something new. A lot of these things were there. So actually, one of the new thing about the new tax laws is increased awareness expected to significantly improve compliance, because we are more of a data-driven economy now. Things have changed. Everybody has evolved. So even our government has also evolved. We are now digitalized. So they are looking at how can they close out on some loopholes that were there. So another one is limited liability companies with revenue of 100 million and below are exempted from CIT. Actually, it's true, but for businesses that are professional, they are still paying their taxes as normal. But there are other businesses that are being separated from the professional, like us, the accounting firm. We are still on the same operating on. We don't have this exemption actually. Right. We are still dealing with. I think the business like creative industry is exempted because they are looking for a way to make you people thrive and to grow. So a minimum tax percent of 15% applies to very large companies with about 50 billion. So they are trying to see how they can see comparing your actual tax that you're supposed to pay and the 15% of your turnover, which one is higher, so that they can enjoy part of it. A mandatory e-invoicing and digital VAT reporting. So on this particular one, what they are trying
sorry,
to
Emmnauel,
do.
can I quickly ask you? Can I just quickly? I know you're in your middle of your presentation, but there's just something I want to be sure. So you said LLCs with revenues of 100 million and below are exempt from CIT, and then the next one talks about minimum tax of 15% for people that have 50 billion and above. What happens to the people between 100 million and 50 billion? If you can just touch on that, or if you are still going to touch on it later, I just thought I should just bring that up.
Okay, those ones are paying 30% of their profits. As after you deduct all your expenses, your liable expenses, because actually not all expenses are liable for tax purposes, like depreciation, sometimes not liable. So moving on.
I think just to be sure that Rogba is clear with that between 100 million and 50 billion, like you mentioned, will be 30%. But if the law allows the president to drop it from 30% to 25%, if he assents to it, again, they didn't want to commit to it immediately. But if the president assents to it, it will now drop to 25%. So I don't know if that's clear, Rogba.
Yeah, I get that. I just wanted to be sure of that. Yeah. Thank you. Please go on, Emmnauel. Apologies for the interruption.
It's fine. Thank you very much. So the last one of the major key changes is the mandatory invoicing and digital VAT reporting. So I think for now, for creative industry, which are still thriving, you are not, because on this mandatory invoicing is something that is being implemented for business who has about 5 billion upward. They are into the system now using merchants and buyers solution e-invoicing platform. So it means that you need to register your business as part of as an e-invoicing in the platform, so that you can be sending your invoice and government can be tracking your VAT at every of your revenue. So it helps government to have the intelligence of your revenue at the end of the day, because they are not waiting for you to come and file before they know what you have. So with this, they can have their information. So what is the new tax law is not actually, it's something that if you structure yourself, you can keep yourself very well in check, you can move on. So what are the big wins for creators and creative business? Actually, okay, for professional, I think let me start with the freelancers. What are the things that you really need to benefit? So one of the things is that your revenue that you get, maybe you are running a YouTube, you have a YouTube that you are running, you have other freelancing, not everything that is going, not all the income that you have that is going to be taxed. It's actually when you deduct your expenses that you have that you need to be taxed. So another thing is that that's the pre-revenue cost treatment. So production costs incurred before monetization can offset in future income. So you are running a YouTube, you incur a lot of costs today to create the content, and your content is going to be monetized. Probably you don't have the monetization is not there immediately. Maybe you get it in next year. So they said the cost that you incur can be used to reduce the cost of your revenue before you are taxed. So for the big order for the companies, actually, okay, for individual, you still have a rent relief, is 20% of annual rent, or if your annual rent is higher, you can be taxed. You are given a 500,000 relief at the end of the day. So if you have maybe your rent is more like 5 million, so 20% of your 5 million, which is that's 1 million. So they are going to give you just 500,000 as relief instead of the 1 million. So that's that. So for businesses, what do you really have? You have a zero corporate income tax, which is you don't have to pay VAT, you don't pay CIT at the end of the day if your business is from 100 million below. Then you also have a capital allowance on your equipment, like your camera, all your equipment, your gears, your sound equipment. You have a relief, and you also have actually they have now recognized and formalized this industry as a priority sector, in which that they are now giving you an incentive. But although I know we are still thriving and we will get there, they said if you have up to 5 billion threshold, your capital expenditure, which constitutes your gears and everything, that's your asset. If you have up to 5 billion, you can have about 5% tax incentive for like 15 years. So it means that at the end of your tax, when you are completing your CIT, at the end of your tax, so they give you 3% credit. So you are not paying the full tax, you are less of 5% credit. So you are also giving research and development deductions. So you can deduct up to 5% of your turnover if you have a lot of innovative development that you are doing, like you are into trying to see how you can bring in AI in order to innovate, do things in your businesses. You also have a zero VAT on global revenue. So if you are exporting you create a content and you sell it maybe to Amazon, Netflix, and the rest, you have a 0% VAT. So I think the next will be presented by my colleague Abraham on what are the things that we need to do as an individual or as a business, the structure. Thank you very much. All right.
Oh, thank you very much, Emmnauel.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Emmnauel. So just to go up to the next 3 slides, what do I need to do as a freelancer? The earlier slide, please. What do I need to do as a freelancer? You are a freelancer, you are an independent contractor, you do things on your own. What do you need to do with this new tax law? You have nothing to fear, right? What you just might try to do is try to be compliant. One of the advice we will give to you is, one, maintain and understand your PID. You must have a PID. Just like you have NIN, you must have your PID. Even though now the government has said that your NIN will not be your tax number going forward, but that has not been implemented yet. So number one, you must maintain your PID, and it will be one. For every contract you are getting into, ensure that you have one. Number two, when you are doing any contract with anybody, and you know they're going to deduct withholding taxes, ensure that you quote your PID there. So that, for instance, if you're in Lagos and you have quoted the right PID, when they deduct withholding tax from your fee, even if you negotiated in such a way and you say, I'm going to get 1 million, and they gross up, and you sign the contract that is 1 million plus, that withholding tax credit note will come to you. One way you will know is that you will get an email from LIRS, the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, for that deduction that was deducted from you. And then you will confirm that it was paid. If it was paid by the person who deducted it from you, you will get an email that you have a withholding tax credit of a particular amount of money. That is very, very important, right? Number two, like I just said there, like you said, in case whether it's contract or invoices, you must ensure that your PID is captured. That's clear. The next thing you must try now to do as an individual is this. Try your best to ensure that at the end of every year, you file your returns on the LRS portal. File. If you have not been doing it before, and it's not a big deal. Let's say you have not been doing that well in the past years, you can try that this January, because January is time to file. Okay, for you as an independent person, you have to match to file. File. And it's very simple to do. You can go to the LRS portal, you can do it on your own, or you can seek for your accountant to guide you on what to do. You understand that, right? So, in filing, the question is, what am I filing? Am I paying tax on all the money that I earned? Maybe you were a fantastic actor, and you acted in 5 different movies, and in total they paid you 15 million in total for all of it. You are not required to pay 15 million on what? You pay it on your own 15 million. It steals some money to even get to the place. So it's like what you are required to do is to say, this is my revenue, what I earn, minus all my liable expenses that are related to the service I provided. And you declare that gain of yours, and then what? Tax it. Based on the new tax law, you're going to pay lower than the previous tax law. Rather than you have the fear that you're paying personal income tax on the whole money you got. I can tell you it's very likely that you have not kept the books. It's very likely that you have not been keeping track. It's true. But you need to now try to keep track. There's some personal expenses that are yours, that's separate, but things that you have to, cost you must incur to realize that revenue, that income, to get to that show, to fly to that state, to do that show. You can deduct it and only pay tax on the balance. So one thing is important for you as a freelancer: record keeping and discipline allows freelancers to minimize their tax liability and retain more value from their creative efforts. Let's talk to the guys who are business owners. Whether you're a sole proprietorship business or you run a limited liability company, one thing is key for you. You need to, at this point, critically evaluate your financial systems. You need to just evaluate it to say, is the system I'm running in my business at the moment, is it giving value to stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? You are a major stakeholder of your business. You, yourself. You're a major stakeholder in your business. Are you having value? Yes, the tax law is going to get all of us to do something right, but it's before the tax man gets any benefit from you. It's first you. You are the first to benefit. And for that reason, you need system that work. Permit me to share a very a small story with you, right? Or a small analogy with you. There was a farmer, right? He needed somebody desperately, right? He needed somebody desperately to work on his farm. He didn't get people to work on his farm. And then he met a young man. And he asked the young man, I need you to work on my big farm. I have animals, I have different kind of things, crops and all of that, but I need your help to work on this farm. The guy said, oh, I'm quite busy, but yes, but I can sleep when the storm is raging. I can sleep when the rain is falling. And the guy said, I need somebody who can actually walk when the rain is falling. I need somebody who can actually move around when there is storm, who can help me get things done. Anyway, because the farmer was very desperate to get somebody to work, he hired the young man like that. Days went by, the young man would walk, he would be in his own room staying, the young man does his work. On a critical day, there was heavy storm, heavy rain. And this man, as usual in the past, when there's heavy rain and storm like that, the farmer has to rush out to ensure that all the animals are kept in the barn, the crops are well placed, all of that, the store is well kept. He rushes out again this time around. And as he rushes out, he found out that all the animals are already in the barn. They're all covered. They are not feeling any cold. The store was already closed and locked and, waterproofed. And then he went to the room where the young man was and he found out the young man was snoring. He was sleeping. He now remembered what the young man said, that I can sleep when the storm is raging. He meant that I don't need to wait until the storm comes, or until the rain comes before I put systems. It's put systems rather than chasing shadows. And I think the system first benefits you and not even the government. The government is a minor stakeholder in your business. He only takes a small share. You have the larger share of your creative work. You have the larger share of the value of your creative work. And so that is why you must create systems that last. You must create systems that work, whether you're doing a commission content or you're doing your own content or you're selling to an independent contractor, whatever you're doing, create a system that works. And I think that's very, very important. Number two, you need to ensure that your system is error-free and has no room for loopholes for taxes. When you're doing things, you need to be deliberate to ensure that your system is error-free. And there are no loopholes where the taxman can come and knock you. E.g., one of the most important things, paying your VAT. Or if you don't have VAT to pay, you go on the tax Pro Max and file nil returns. You own the company, a limited liability company, and you don't go on tax Pro Max and write nil. Even if you earn 25 million and below, or you will be earning 100 million and below, you are meant to file taxes at zero level to show that you don't have revenue to disclose. Ensure a system that is there. Number three, structure creative contract intentionally. To be honest, because of our time, I cannot start talking about this. I can spend 2 hours discussing contract redesigning in the creative industry. 2 hours, I'm not going to be done. Because contracting in the creative industry is very vital. If you want to know what level of revenue you are disclosing, people have the contract worded. People enter into contract, they don't pay the revenue, that's exposing to VAT. But if you plan your contracting properly, why not? It will reduce your tax exposure. So that's one, right? Why not engage professional finance and tax advisors? You must ensure that the people that are advising you, really, they know what they are doing. They know the job. They can deliver. They can help you. They understand your business. They want to help you to fulfill your dreams. That is the kind of professional you should look for. And finally, you should ensure that your finance team, the people that work for you, you should ensure that they know specific reporting that affect the creative industry, and they know the tax rules. You must ensure that they know the tax rules. This, you don't need to do is just train them and brief them. So one thing is sure, number one, strong system will protect the business, the brand, and you, the person behind the beautiful creative work that we all enjoy from our various I think the major point, really, in terms of major points. So for me, strategic tax management, I think that one, as we conclude, choose the most suitable business structure. That's one thing is clear. I remember talking to a particular creative person. I told the person, please run a sole proprietorship business and a limited liability company. I told him to run both. Obviously, because of the conversation we had and what he's trying to do. So I advise him to run both. Determine whether your transaction is vatable. It's important to know that every transaction you're doing, you must ensure, is it vatable? Like Emmnauel said in his presentation, he said, for services you are exporting, it's not subject to VAT, but you have to disclose that to the taxman. The way your financials is structured. Number two, even on your tax promise every month, you need to have put it there. Now, this is exported service. You need to maximize your allowable deductions. Maximize your allowable deductions and tax credits. I'll focus on allowable deductions, right? You run a company. If you have been keeping the books properly, you don't wait until December year end before you look at your books. By October, if your year end is December, by October, you can check the way I'm going. Am I going to be disclosing so much profit? If you find out you're going to disclose so much profit, why don't you bring in some other legitimate expenses and bring it so your profit can reduce and you will enjoy your life? I won't talk about tax credit here because Emmnauel has talked about that is for a lot of these big businesses. I know you may be in the hall today. Your boss right now is still at 200 million, 1 billion in revenue. When you get to 5 billion, 50 billion, why not? Tax credit will apply to you. And it's clear, but let's not talk about that now. We can only talk about that later. Another point you should do, time your income. Time your income, very important. How do I mean? Emmnauel just said now that the government has said that if you earn 100 million and below, you won't be required to pay the regulatory 30% tax, right? Yeah. I'm not going to pay. And I found out that by November, my revenue so far is 90 million. And in December, he wants to come and pay me 15 million in December. I will tell that customer, say, please, pay the money January 2. Right? Because if you pay the 15 million now, your revenue will jump to what? 105 million. Meaning you will not be able to pay what? The regular 30% tax on your profit. So to remain under, 100 million. What do? I say, no, I've deferred that 15 million I want to earn. I defer it. I will defer it clearly till January so that I can what? I can stay within that band at least for this what? For this year. Not that you are limiting yourself, but it's just strategic planning. So we can go over and over on this. Our time is fast spent. We know this session is just for about an hour plus, right? I think another point that is written here is that we need to maintain our records. There's no room. When I said that the economy is not data driven, you need to keep your data, keep your records. Whatever be the case, find a way of keeping your records, right? So the Tax Act requires a shift from reactive tax filing to proactive real-time tax management, and that's a very important factor. But listen, before tax, right? Before tax is accounting. Before accounting is structure. So it's first structure, then accounting and tax. The question is, we're talking about tax today. What does your structure look like? What's your accounting looking like? And I think that's an important thing you need to know. In conclusion, to sip soundly and grow your creative business, compliance is important. Your compliance will help you to protect your earnings. Number two, paper records help you to know your true value, the true value of your business. And three, strategically structuring enables and sustains your growth. If your business is still at 10 million at the moment, I can tell you, if you keep records and do what is right, there will be room for what? For growth. The new tax regime rewards preparation, transparency, and structure. When creative invest in proper systems and documentation, they protect their work, preserve their value, and operate with confidence and peace of mind that can help you be very creative to bless us with lots of creative work. I want to believe that this is it. So Rogba, it's back to you now, Rogba.
Yes, thank you very much, Abraham. That was actually quite enlightening, and I like the fact that you gave us practical ways in which we can, make this work. First, let's quickly move into the next part of this webinar, where we're going to talk to Mr. Peter Olayemi, who's the managing partner and for tax and regulatory advisory services at Pat Plus Professional Services, to share his perspective on these presentations and the implications for the creative industry. Mr. Peter Olayemi is someone who can give us clarity, especially when it comes to how the government sees the new tax law and how the government actually looks at businesses in this situation. So, Mr. Olayemi, good morning. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for coming on this. Can we please have some of your insights?
Rogba, if you don't mind, if you really can hear
yes,
me.
Please.
If you don't mind,
yes, I can hear
a bit
you.
of a background about Mr. Olayemi, Mr. Peter Olayemi.
Oh, please go ahead.
Is a retired director, right, at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. He's a retired director.
Now Nigerian Inland Revenue Service.
Now, okay, sorry. Now, how did they call it?
Nigerian Revenue Service.
Revenue Service.
Revenue Service.
All right.
Yes.
He was a director, a retired director. He's somebody very, very vast, very vast. In fact, when you have tax disputes, right, he settles disputes between the tax authority and various companies because of the government reliance on his experience. He's been a very big blessing to us at AideOne. He's a very reverend person here. When we have very complex matters to deal with, particularly the Abuja problems, we refer to him because he's a big father to us, and we are glad to have him. To be honest, in our call to this morning, Mr. Remy, good morning, sir. Salami, you are muted, just to be sure. Salami, you are muted, just to be sure if you can hear us.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, are you hearing me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
now,
we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you and good morning, everyone. I think I followed the presentations and all the salient points have been properly articulated. The addition I want to make, and which is really very critical, is that anybody in business should try to keep enough documentation of all the activities carried out. Because if there is any question and you have documents to back your position, then it becomes very easy to resolve. But the tendency is for us as small businesses just to be doing business, to be transacting business from our pocket without making effort, to document. Some people will say, Shebi, it is my business, so I don't need. But let's us have at the back of our mind that in whatever business we are doing, government is a shareholder. That is the simplest way to put it. Know that you are not the only owner of the business. Government is also a part owner of the business. And the proprietor or the manager of that business will have to account to government at any critical time. So if we have that at the back of our mind, you can be sure that we will not have any problem. There were a lot of fears about the new tax law, that government will just go into my account and take my money. That is not a very correct position. The correct position is that before a tax is levied, it's either you are required to file what we call a self-assessment return, in which you personally declare what you consider to be your income. You declare what you consider to be your expenses, and at the end of the day, what is taxable is the profit that you have generated from your trading business. And the only way to prove all those situations is to have proper documentation. So I will say the first question in getting yourself prepared is documentation. The second one is documentation. The third one is also documentation. Once you have the right documentations for everything you do, you can actually go and sleep. That when any question is asked, you will be able to say, okay, this is what I've incurred, this is the purpose of these transactions, and these are whatever. But for you to be able to do that, you need a proper structure in place. It may not necessarily be a full-fledged accounts department. No, you can engage professionals to help you to organize your records in a way that will allow you to take advantage of all the incentives that we have in the tax laws. There are so many incentives that are there, but because people don't want to do the right thing, they say, I don't need all those things. I just want to pay 10,000, 20,000 tax. The day of paying or having that mindset is over, because now government has visibility to our transactions. And how do I mean? Every quarter, all banks are mandatorily required to file the returns of customers with a certain amount of transactions in their accounts. So if you may say, well, they don't even know what I'm doing, but you are transacting your businesses through your various bank accounts. And the type of businesses the people in the creative industries are doing is such that, you deal with clients abroad or even here, and they will not give you cash. And because of even this monetization policy of banks, there is a minimum amount of cash you can withdraw. So obviously, most of your transactions will go through the banking system. And the banks are now mandatorily required to file a return of the bank accounts that have a minimum of maybe 25 million in a quarter. So what government will do, or what NRS will do with that, is for them to now ask questions. You have generated so much. What can you give us the evidence that all these amounts that passes through your accounts are earned income? If they are income that are earned, then you have to just explain, okay, this is what I earn, this is this and that or whatever. So, but it is only after, although they will not be doing it every quarter, filing of returns is once in a year. But at least, with that type of information, the government has all the relevant information they need to properly assess every taxpayer in the country. And that is the major shift that we will, start to experience from now going forward. So I will urge us to try as much as possible to, have a good structure that will support us when the chips are down. I think those are the little points I want to make. Thank you, everybody, and good morning.
Okay, thank you, Thank you very much, Mr. Olayemi, and good morning again. So I think I'll just briefly summarize a few important themes that have come up so far. So first, we can see clearly that the tax landscape has evolved and is evolving, especially for creatives. And we have many long-standing assumptions, especially things like withholding tax, expenses, and structuring, that we need to revisit and make sure that we have proper structures in place for. Now, tax is not only about compliance. This new framework also introduces clearer rules, better definitions, and in some cases, it gives us accommodations that we, the creatives, are going to be able to use to operate more confidently and strategically. So I think I'd like to use the next few minutes to ask a couple of questions, because as I was listening to the presentation, I was just typing and trying to save some questions. So I think it's okay to go ahead. Please, if you have questions, you can also drop it in the chat. Once I'm done with these sets of questions, we'll open up the chat, or we'll take questions from you all. So my first question, I think, is going to go to Mr. Olayemi. So many creatives like me have historically applied a 5% withholding tax when we engage cast, crew, writers, and then we also have about a 10% withholding tax when it comes to things like rentals for locations and equipment. But under the new tax law, we're seeing references to a 2% rate in certain situations. So can you please explain which creative services will now attract 2% and which will still be 5% or 10%, and how we can apply this correctly in practice?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think it's a very technical question that we all have to have a good understanding of how the withholding tax regulation works. Now, withholding tax is not an additional tax on its own. Withholding tax is payment of tax on account. Now, for the people in the creative industry, will it be right to treat them as professionals, or we treat them as people rendering other services other than professional services? Because if you are treating them as professional services, then they fall under the threshold of 5% withholding tax anytime you are making payment to them. But if you are treating them as rendering other service, because what the circular says is that supply and rendering of services other than those specifically listed in this schedule and they listed commission, consultancy, technical management, and professional services as, to be subjected to withholding tax of 5%. But if, like I said earlier on, we regard the services they render as, rendering of services other than the one that I just mentioned, then the rate of withholding tax will be 2%. So, well, the position is really a little bit straightforward, really. But the most important thing is the proper definition of the understanding within the industry of the services that all these creatives render. So,
okay.
I
Sorry,
think
sir. Just to clarify, when you say professional services, we're talking about services like accountancy, lawyers, and I don't know if that encompasses any of the areas of creatives as well, just so that we have some clarity about that.
Okay. Well, it's maybe what is actually the understanding of the people in the industry, because when we are looking at the interpretation now, what is the generally accepted interpretation of the services? We know professionals, accountants, lawyers, architects, and whatever are the traditional people that are treated as professionals. And when they render, when they render service, their own position is very clear, 5%. But the people in the creative industry, will it be right to also treat the service they render as professional? If the understanding, because we are to guide based on the information you have given us. But, well, if it is possible, if I don't know whether I'm understood. Now, what the law says is that supply or rendering of services. I think what the people is a service. At least, we can hide under that clause to say, well, people in the creative industry are rendering services. And to that extent, that is not specifically mentioned above, then it may be right to, charge them withholding tax at the rate of 2%. And the withholding tax will be paid by the time you are making payments to them individually. Then for rent, the case of rent is very straightforward. Rent for either corporate or individual is 10%. So that one, I don't think there is any controversy on that.
It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That's really helpful. I believe that's really helpful. So my second question is regarding recognized expenses and deductions, and I want to direct that to Abraham. So, creative work involves a lot of significant costs. We have talent fees, we have equipment, logistics, post-production, marketing, PR, etc. So under this new framework, which expenses are now more clearly recognized or easier to justify for creative businesses? And if you don't mind, can we also touch briefly on rent as it applies to locations for production or for accommodation? If there's any difference there. So it's in two parts. But the first thing is, which expenses are more clearly recognized now or easier to justify for creative businesses?
Okay, thank you so much. The law, this new tax law gives some new conditions for expenses that is allowable for deduction. True, but it's very expansive. However, when I look at some of the transactions you mentioned, all of those transactions you mentioned typically are allowable for what? For deduction. All of them are allowable for deduction. In fact, if you heard Emmnauel's presentation earlier, Emmnauel was even saying that the law now allows you to deduct how did you call it now?
Pre-revenue costs.
Pre-revenue costs. Pre-revenue costs.
Okay.
Meaning that costs that you even incurred before you earn revenue at all. Do you understand? A lot of content, even including research. If you ever do research, some producers do it where you do what they call test production. It's not really your main production, but you're trying to test the waters. It's like your research to say, do people like this particular content? If I do this comedy about police, they like it. If I do this comedy about admirals, would they like it? And you just those the tests you incur at the test phase, the government is even saying that a percentage of it or the whole of it is allowable. So a whole lot of these costs are allowable, particularly if they're directly incurred under your company, under a particular company.
Okay.
But you also know that this thing is a function of contracting, where even sometimes equipment that should have been capitalized, depending on the way a contract is worded, can be an expense, not expense per se, but sitting to reduce a liability. But let's not talk about that because that's even more complex if we start going to that direction.
Yeah.
So I think I've answered that your first question. Your second question, I know there's no time because we're already seeing that time is going.
And we still have quite a number of questions to go, especially from the chat. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we should quickly take one or two questions from the chat as well to just help us move along, because I know people have a lot of questions that they want to ask, and I don't want it to be that we spend all the time and then. So I don't know if we can put. Let me see if we can put the chats up. Sorry, 1 second, please. Okay. So one of the questions we have, I'm using a combination of my phone and my laptop, so excuse me. Okay, somebody, Ebele Ojuku, says, what companies are supposed to still pay CIT, even though their annual turnover is less than 100 million?
Okay. Can I take that one?
Yes, please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Now, according to the provisions of the law, companies that their turnover is less than 100 million, they are exempted from the payment of CIT. But like Mr. Abraham mentioned at that time, there is the obligation to file a return. There is a difference between payment of tax and filing a return, because it is not possible for FRS to know everybody out there in the tax arena. So it is mandatory for all companies, whether your level is below 100 or above 100 million turnover, you have obligations to file returns. And if you exceed the threshold, then you pay all the necessary taxes. But you cannot say because your turnover is either 25 million or 30 million and you are exempted, then you don't do anything. No, you are supposed to still engage consultants to prepare your account and do all the needful in accordance with the law. Thank you.
I hope that answered the question, Abele.
Yeah,
I'd like to jump to yes.
I think okay. If Abele is fine, like she said, thank you. If she's fine with that response, then it's okay.
Yes.
Okay, then fine. Let's put up time.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk about structuring for growth and scale, which I feel is very important, because beyond basic compliance, a lot of us creatives are also thinking of growth. We want to work with brands, we want to work with platforms, we want to work with investors, international partners. Some of us are doing that, some of us are not yet doing that. We're planning for that. So how can creatives structure their operations under the new tax law in a way that supports this scale and long-term growth and not just compliance? So I think that question is for Abraham.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rogba, for that beautiful point you raised. And I must say this, right? That the creative business folks can actually scale. And I think one very way they can do it is first that they must have a structure for the little that they currently do. For what you currently do, have a structure for it. Do it as if it's a big brand, right? Have a structure. The ways you can actually have structure is, typically when the Nigerian creative people they put a lot. If you see where creative people are doing content, it's not in very perfect conditions. They spend very less to do something very quality, right? And yet we all enjoy it. So you see, there's that rough end in terms of production, right? While we even feel that area can be improved, so I'm not going to talk about that area because I'm not a professional in that area. But in the area they can improve on will be the issue of, now back in, will be the issue of record keeping and tracking. There's nothing wrong for a firm, a company, to have an accounting application. And there's also cost. To have an application that tracks how much you spend on every project of yours. So you can say, how much did I spend? How much of the company's money did I spend on this project, this project, this project? That's number one. On that same project, how much of how do I call it now? Barter deals. You know what I mean by barter deals, Rogba? Barter deals that I got to do this particular project, right? That deal can be with a friend, can be with a hospital, can be with anybody. You keep kind of a track. What are the people I dealt with? In fact, if you want to even do things in such a way that a project, what you spend on card scroll writers, the applications that you can use to track. You see, we now want to do another content that is related, which should have some level of data. It will help you to prepare a robust budget or a robust costing, right? You can, for your international vendor or even a local vendor who wants to pay you to do a content, rather than just cheating yourself out of it. You should earn more when you're doing something for somebody external. And save costs when you're doing something for yourself, so you can earn a huge revenue. The third thing for structuring will be the area of compliance. Maybe tax compliance. You don't let it be ever seen that you are a company that people chase up and down. No. Or if you're dealing with an international company or a local company that is asking you for your tax clearance certificate, and you don't have of your business, why don't you do those simple things and have it? With those things, you can scale. People will know that you're a structured business, even though you are doing it from your house. Number 4, maybe because of our time, I'll just stop here. There are many more areas to look at. Number 4 will be the fact that there is a huge creative industry fund. There is a huge creative industry fund that has been from the Buhari regime, that has been well maximized for people to take money from, including funds that they put in the Nigerian Bank of Industry. So the creative people, some people take that fund, and I'm sure some of you know that. Some people take from that fund, right? So why don't you have structured your business the way I just said now? You can take that fund to expand, to do your things. We can't spend too much time on all of this. We can keep talking about this structuring for the next 1 hour. So I know that.
Okay. Yeah. I think something that is also very important for us to note is about enforcement. So it's like a 2-in-1 question. There's a perception that enforcement in the creative sector is actually limited. You understand? So what are the real enforcement risks that creatives need to be aware of today, and what typically would trigger regulatory attention? So I think Mr. Olayemi will be able to help us answer that question.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, enforcement is compelling compliance. And compelling compliance can only happen when there are informations. And like I said, when you operate in the digital platforms, the level of visibility is higher. Now, compliance will come, enforcement compliance will come when the system observe that, there are some consistency that can be gleaned from the system. And, the regulators can now go back to see whether, these people that are very active in this digital space are even within the tax net. So, there is a department within NRS that actually engage in scanning the system to know whether, people are, they call them the intelligence units. So if the name of a particular creative enterprise
keeps coming up,
is becoming exactly very active, then the tendency is to actually check whether that particular operator is, is filing returns, and there is
compliant.
Now a better collaboration between the states and the federal. So if they are not in the federal tax net, then we can also share that information with the states to confirm whether they have information about that particular taxpayer. And if they don't have enough information about them, then it will trigger an enforcement action to really go after them and ensure that they do what they are supposed to do. The most important thing is that, we try as much as possible to do what the law expects us to do. And with that, we can always go to sleep without too much problem or fears.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So I think that it still comes back to the ensuring that, you have your structure in place and you're doing your reporting. Exactly. That's the key thing. There's one other question I have. It's about the past. So a lot of creatives now are realizing that, okay, maybe they applied the wrong tax treatment in the past. Now, they might not have done this out of intent to, be funny, but just due to lack of clarity about tax matters. So what is the safest way for these creatives to transition into this new framework without creating fresh exposure or necessary penalties for themselves? Because, I might have been doing business before this way, and then now I realize, oh, it was wrong. I need to do it this way now. So how do I transition into this new regime without incurring additional penalties for past mistakes?
For past mistakes. Well, yes, the law has always been there, and it is expected that people should comply with the law. But it's better to start to do the right thing. Now, there is this statute of limitation, maybe within 6 years, if so anything done, beyond 6 years away, they may not actually seriously look at it. But at least, the first step to take is to start now going forward. Say, okay, yes, although ignorance of the law is not an excuse, but at least it will make the tax people to be sympathetic that what you did was out of ignorance and whatever. But the fact that you have now, you have now come out on your own to say, well, you now go, you register, you get your TIN or the payer ID, as the case may be in the States. Although everybody, whether you are at the States or at the federal, you are supposed to get your tax payer identification number. The various states call it by different names. Some call it PID, because the TIN platform is a national platform that should, take everybody on board. And the states are also supposed to key into that. But until that is done, if the state is insisting that, well, we will be using the payer ID, please go ahead and get a payer ID and be using it until the controversy around the team and the states are resolved. So, yes, so what I will advise, do what is right from now way forward. If they raise the issues about the past, you can always discuss that and let them know that, well, it was a mistake. Let them give you a soft landing so that at least, because the most important thing is to bring every taxable person into the tax net, and you are already in the tax net, so they should not kill the goose that is laying the golden egg. So
the egg.
Let's move forward. And
all right, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, so we have one more question from Saidat Musa. I think we should quickly take that. It says, my question is that the law gave a definition of professional as persons who have specialized skills, knowledge, or professional recognition under a regulated body. Based on this definition, can the creative industry be regarded as one? I know we had this conversation earlier, Abraham, about this creative professional body, not professional. I don't know if we need to touch on that again, just to give clarity to say that.
Okay, before Abraham will come on board, the question I also want to ask is that, do they have the creative industry, do they have a body that regulates their activities? If
not
there is no body,
entire creative industry as a whole.
Industry as a whole, like lawyers have, what do they call it? Nigerian society. Okay, the engineers have Nigerian Society of Engineers.
Engineering Society.
Accountants have
accountants have.
The lawyers
also
MBA. Have legal, exactly, they have MBA. So if we have a similar body for the creative people, then they may eventually, be treated as professionals. But if they don't have, then it is very easy for them to argue that the service they render will fall under the 2% withholding tax threshold and elder services, and that should settle that. I don't know whether
thankfully we don't very, very clear, but thankfully we don't have a governing creative industry body. So I believe strongly, and I believe I speak for all the creatives here, we are going to be paying 2%. Well, Abraham, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I don't have anything to say, but Rogba, I may ensure that you guys have an institute very soon. Like I can.
No, don't
make sure that
thank you. We didn't ask for your help. We didn't ask for your help.
We need to be writing exams.
All the other smaller, we have the small ones, directors. We are doing our work. Don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg, as Mr. Olayemi said. Don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
Okay.
All right.
I don't have anything to add.
Our time is really fast spent. There are a few other questions I had, but I think we may have to log off now so that people can go about that, especially Mr. Olayemi, who has, I know, a lot to do today. We've answered the questions that have been put up. There are no other questions in the chat. So I'd like to say thank you to our facilitators and to everyone who is on the call who joined us today. And I believe that the key takeaway from this session is very simple. The new tax law is not something that we as creatives need to survive. It's something that we need to understand and use to operate more confidently and sustainably. So basically, structure is now part of the creative process. So how you contract, spend, position your work matters as much as the work itself. Now, I'd like to encourage you to follow AideOne on YouTube for more practical conversations on this topic. It's AideOne Consulting on YouTube. If you go there, as you can see on the screen, there are a lot of videos that address tax, structure, financing, and things like that. So please avail yourself of these free resources. It is a YouTube channel that is constantly being updated with new information. So please go ahead with that. Also, you can visit AideOne's website if you need any additional resources, and to check out or to know in advance about upcoming sessions that will be focused on the creative economy. If you also need further information or you'd like to reach out, you can reach out to Emmnauel, who is the head of the creative team at AideOne. Emmnauel, can you please put your email in the chat as well, so that people have that. And then I think it's on the slide somewhere that you can put it up, so that people can reach out to you if they need, any extra information or if they want to follow up. So yes, that's it. So you can reach out to info@aideone.com.ng with your questions, with your queries, with your if whatever it is. They're always, AideOne has been of immense help to me, and I know they're very passionate about helping the creative industry find structure and grow. So please take time out to do that. I'm sure a recording of today's session and additional materials can be shared on AideOne's channels. So please stay connected to AideOne to receive those materials. So I'd like to thank everyone for their time. Mr. Olayemi, Abraham, Emmnauel, and everyone that joined this webinar. I'd like to say thank you for the engagement and have a very productive rest of your day. I don't know if you have any last words.
Realize their dreams and to empower our team.
Thank you very much, and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I will appreciate it. Bye.
Professional services firm. Our passion is to help our clients realize their dreams and to empower our team to deliver on the goals of our clients. We do this by bringing together talents who can freely express themselves.
One of the most fascinating aspects of my work experience here at AideOne has been the freedom to express my creative abilities. Even though I only started interning here, the firm encourages me to bring my creative ideas to the table and actively participate in decisions that help better our clients' experience. This has not only made me more confident in my ability, but has also instilled a sense of pride in me, knowing that my decisions help contribute to the firm's overall success.
We attract talent who are willing to learn, grow, and succeed. We place great emphasis on training and providing all the support they need to succeed in their engagements. This commitment to equipping our team is a catalyst in achieving our sole aim of helping our clients.
One of the best practices at AideOne is our tradition in doing technical sessions. These sections provide us with opportunity to learn, upskill, and sharpen our knowledge continuously. It also provides us with opportunity to develop our presentation skills. We stay updated with industry trends and technologies, which ultimately makes us quality professionals.
Our culture is hard work and competitiveness, but encourages teamwork among our people.
I resumed AideOne 3 weeks later than expected, and when I resumed, the energy and focus was just so real. I knew I needed to do more, and my colleagues gave me great support. The competition to be a grounded consultant and advisor is real, but very healthy.
Our approach to every client is personal. We listen to their pains and plans and chart a client-specific approach that would bring joy and fulfillment to their plans. We value building financial structures for our clients, above all, laying a foundation that will stand the test of time, and every level and class of staff comes together to support this objective.
Another remarkable aspect is the culture that prevails at AideOne. We acknowledge every member of the team, irrespective of their role, as an integral contributor to our collective success. This culture of respect makes everybody feel comfortable and foster commitment to AideOne dream.
Our joy comes from when our clients say thank you, and most joyful when our people feel fulfilled.
My time at AideOne has offered me a plethora of opportunities, including but not limited to growth, creativity, and collaboration. I'm proud to be a part of a team that not only values its employees, but empowers them to be the best in their respective roles.
Clients once asked, what is the dream of your firm? We affirmed that we do not have any particular dream than to fulfill theirs. That's what we do at AideOne, fulfilling your dreams.
I am enjoying my stay at AideOne.
Thank you for letting me share my experiences here at